As climate change accelerates the melting of high mountain ice, archaeologists are suddenly discovering a wealth of artifacts preserved in the ice for centuries. Remember the story of Ötzi, the Neolithic mummy found in the Italian Alps, which we previously covered in a video. The ice preserves organic materials such as wood, bone, wool, and leather over time. Often, these are the only materials left in sites repeatedly exposed by thawing. Fabrics and skin disappear more rapidly, and objects may deteriorate and vanish forever if not collected in time. Even the glaciers in Norway, like those elsewhere in the world, are undergoing gradual melting. In 2011, an archaeological team made a sensational discovery that is providing crucial insights into the Viking people, challenging the prevailing perception we tend to have of them as fjord-dwelling skilled navigators. These findings, continuing until 2023, tell us of extensive and probably peaceful movements made by Scandinavian warriors through the mountains of Norway. Between the 1970s and the 1980s, near the mountain pass of Lindbrien, at an altitude of 1,900 meters on the Lindbrien ridge in the Jotunheimen Mountains, approximately 300 kilometers northwest of Oslo, various artifacts from different historical periods began to emerge due to glacial melting. These findings are centered on the period when the Vikings were expanding in the Scandinavian peninsula and the rest of Europe through wars and trade. The echoes of their success are visible even in this remote mountain location. Archaeologists believe the past was a significant hub for local movements between permanent farms in the valley and summer pastures. It was also a route for transporting rare goods such as leather, butter, and animal horns to other parts of Norway and Europe. Ice and snow made the journey easier and faster than lower rocky and perilous routes. Lindbrien is an absolutely unique site, being the first known path crossing an ice zone, offering exceptional preservation conditions for artifacts lost by past travelers. Analyzing the types of findings, particularly spears, experts have concluded that from the 1st century AD, the area was used as a reindeer hunting site. A subsequent investigation of the surrounding area revealed about 800 artifacts, around 150 bones and horns, more than 100 stone cairns, and the foundations of a stone shelter. It's now clear that Lindbrien was a focal point for regional transhumance, and likely for long-distance travels from the Roman Iron Age to the end of the Middle Ages. Lindbrien is an ice patch rather than a true glacier. The distinction lies in the fact that it never accumulates enough mass to succumb to gravity and move. Winter-accumulated snow progressively melts, compacting into ice and staying in place. Positioned on a steep north-facing slope on Lindbrien Ridge, it ranges between 1,690 and 1,920 meters above sea level. In a typical pattern of periodic expanse and contraction of ice slabs in response to climate change, the area has revealed sections devoid of lichen, featuring only gravel and rock. This is where most artifacts have been found, resting on bare ground. Although not displaced during their entrapment in the ice, the artifacts have undergone vertical and sometimes lateral shifts due to melting water and strong winds. Hence, the position of objects, especially those made of lightweight organic materials, do not reflect the precise location of their original deposition. For instance, a Bronze Age ski was found in 4 separate pieces, scattered up to 250 meters apart. In the summer of 2011, researchers returned to conduct further investigations and encountered something entirely unexpected. Firstly, they discovered artifacts unrelated to hunting, such as a finely crafted tunic dating back to the 4th century AD, the oldest garment ever found in Norway, and a leather shoe from 1300 AD, too sophisticated to have belonged to a hunter. Although some of these garments might have been lost along the way, it's possible that these pieces of clothing were discarded in dire circumstances, such as the irrational behavior associated with hypothermia. Something doesn't add up, the researchers must have thought. Thus, collecting the artifacts and documenting the discovery with photos and footage to unravel the mystery of Lindbrien Pass became a race, fearing that new snow could fall and cover that treasure. In the subsequent years, further ice melting led to the emergence of new artifacts along the mountain pass. Between 2011 and 2019, the site expanded, becoming one of the most extensive areas of glacial archaeological studies, covering 250,000 square meters. Since then, archaeologists have monitored the ice retreat annually, collecting artifacts emerging from the surface. Among the most significant findings, the following can be mentioned. In 2013, an iron spear with a leaf-shaped tip, typical of the Viking era, dating between 900 and 1000 AD. The spear was in good condition, still showing signs of forging and sharpening. The spear could have been used for hunting or warfare, or perhaps abandoned due to a malfunction or accident. In 2018, a leather belt with a silver buckle decorated with geometric and animal motifs was discovered dating back to 900 to 1000 AD. The belt was a prestigious item, indicating the wealth and status of the owner. It might have been used to fasten a sword or a bag, or perhaps to adorn ceremonial attire. In the summer of 2019, after the completion of the research, the same group of archaeologists conducted further surveys, finding additional objects revealed by the ongoing melting of the ice. Among the most notable discoveries was a wooden box with a lid containing fire-starting tools, a snowshoe for a horse, an almost complete skeleton of a pack horse, and a dog with a collar and leash. Before moving on, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our videos. Some findings are structural, such as stone cairns that would have guided travelers through the fog or the remains of a small shelter. Other discoveries relate to products transported by local farmers to and from their summer pastures, including dairy and fodder, or by traders potentially carrying them much further, including reindeer hides and horns. Among these are delicate wooden objects like a small turn bit for a lamb or goat, elegant walking sticks engraved with the owner's name, and a carved distaff for spinning wool. Lastly, a few months ago, the discovery of horse harnesses made of leather, including bridles, halters, and bits. Experts have thus concluded that between 300 and 1500 AD, from the Roman Iron Age to the end of the Middle Ages, Lindbrien Pass was frequented not only by hunters, but mainly by travelers who moved between valleys with sledges and horses. Thanks to the dating of individual artifacts such as sled remains, sticks, horseshoes, animal bones, and even clothing items like gloves, shoes, and textile scraps, researchers have also been able to understand how frequently this mountain pass was used throughout history. It appears that this route was already known during the Bronze Age between 1750 and 500 BC, as evidenced by the discovery of arrowheads. Starting from 300 AD, the path began to be used for hunting and transporting goods. Subsequently, in the 10th century, hunting activities in this area decreased, while the transport of goods peaked around 1000 AD and ceased with the arrival of the Black Death in Norway between 1348 and 1349. The thesis that the route was also used for transhumance is supported by the discovery at Lindbrien of many items related to the transport of fodder for horses. For this reason, scholars hypothesize that this passage was used for seasonal migration to mountain pastures and farms concentrated in the valleys. Lindbrien seems to have been a crucial communication node for commercial movements. While during the Roman Iron Age in Norway, there were only rural settlements and trade was limited to short distances. In contrast, 1000 AD was a period of high mobility for the Vikings, during which markets were expanding from Ireland to the Baltic and beyond. After all, the Vikings were a people of travelers and explorers. Just before 1000 AD, they had landed on the shores of Greenland, and subsequently, long before Christopher Columbus, in North America. It was during the warm period of the Middle Ages that a man named Eric the Red, forced to leave Iceland, took the Atlantic route and led an expedition to Greenland. Given the unusual and favorable climatic conditions that characterized the years from 950 to 1250, the Vikings were able to settle in those lands. For a long time, it was considered only a legend, later confirmed by significant discoveries that Eric the Red's son, from Greenland, pushed even further west to reach the island of Newfoundland, now Canadian territory, which he named Finland. Returning to the Norwegian findings, it is interesting to note that, according to expert reconstructions, the pass was also used in cold seasons when it was covered with snow, proceeding with sledges pulled by horses. Exactly the opposite of what happened and still happens on Alpine and Himalayan passes, practiced only during the summer season. In conclusion, Lindbrien Pass appears to have been used as such from around 300 AD, peaking around 1000 and declining during the Middle Ages. The count of discovered artifacts indicates that during the medieval period, the use of the pass decreased almost abruptly. This is strange because we know that trade and commerce of those populations increased until 1350. The reason why traffic through the pass decreased even before the Black Death epidemic manifested in Norway, leading to a dramatic population decrease in the mid-14th century, It's not yet entirely clear. The deadly plague, combined with the arrival of the Little Ice Age, may have reduced human activity in the high mountains. But for at least 3 centuries, Lindbrien Pass seemed to have been forgotten by the local populations. Other pandemics in the Middle Ages further worsened the situation, and when large-scale summer agriculture resumed around 1600, Lindbrien was no longer a transit location. Lindbrien Pass was forgotten without a clear reason. Other passes, on the other hand, continued to be used, at least until the mid-19th century, when better roads connecting summer farms were built in the valleys. In conclusion, Viking populations began crossing the ice at Lindbrien as part of their mountain routes and continued to do so until the end of the Middle Ages. They left behind clothing, everyday objects, means of transport, and dead pack horses, evidence preserved by ice in the cold, dry climate. This archaeological documentation provides new insights into the nature of high-altitude travel in the past, including material changes and social-economic factors that influenced them. Far from being barriers or marginal zones, the high mountains were also arteries of communication and inter-regional exchange at that time. This could also explain why Ötzi was found on the day of his death in such a high and cold place. Research, however, continues. Lindbrien Pass is a window into the past, allowing us to better understand the lives and habits of those who traveled it and to imagine the stories and adventures that unfolded along the trail. Lindbrien Pass is also a testament to climate change, threatening to destroy archaeological artifacts preserved in glaciers, but at the same time offering the opportunity to discover and study them. Lindbrien Pass is, finally, a challenge for science and curiosity, inviting us to explore and uncover the secrets hidden beneath the ice.